fish out some material from your pan, babe? Throw the excess out.
Yeah, but I'm seeing all these little shiny pieces.
Yeah, it's because it's not gold. If it was gold, it would stay in the ripples there. And
it's like one of the first things coming out is all my little shiny gold pieces.
They're floating?
Kind of. They're very light. It might actually be mica. Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Relic News. This week we'll be featuring Rocky Mountain Prospector Ryan.
Alright, so there it is, the nickel right there. Super sweet. This is one of the biggest pans in the market. Gold, I tell you!
I started out prospecting, and through gold prospecting, and I owned a couple of claims, I started thinking, okay, I've got a claim up in Idaho that produces some fairly good-sized chunky gold. And I'm like, maybe I need to get a detector to try to find some of that chunky gold without trying to pan for it. I'll just go around metal detect. So my first machine was actually a Garrett AT Gold. And I bought that with a small coil so I could go around my camp and actually try to look for gold nuggets. Never found one. So I started detecting it around home, trying to figure out how to use the machine better and get to know it. And I found my first mercury dime. And that absolutely hooked me. I'm like, I'm finding like early 1900s coins in the ground now.
So where does he hunt? And how does he go about finding his sites?
For a job, I actually do sales, and so I'm used to talking to people in uncomfortable situations, and so for me to go up and ask a homeowner for permission just kind of goes along with what I do every day of my life anyway. And so I spend a lot of my time actually going out and asking for permission from early 1900s homes back into late 1800s homes. And I actually put one of those, I actually filmed me doing some of my permissions, like asking for them at the door, and posted that on my YouTube channel also, just so people could see what I say when I go to the door to try to get permissions.
Hi, I'm here to metal detect your yard. Got my detector and I got my shovel. Can I dig up your yard and look for treasure? We'll see how this goes. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Ryan Larkin. I have noticed your house when I've been driving around the neighborhood. Awesome old house. Looks like it was built in about 1904 from what I looked up online. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm here to see if there's a possibility I could possibly metal detect your yard. I do it as just kind of a little side thing, just for fun. I'm a hobbyist. I would probably do your front yard. Anything I find, relics that could be tied back to your home, I'll give those all back to you because those are things that are tied to the home and people who used to live here. Okay. I'm more looking for like coins, silver coins, old coins that you can find in yards. I was wondering if it'd be okay if I could do that here.
Sure.
Perfect. If I find anything that's real big value, anything like $20 or more, I'd be happy to split the value with you on those. But if it's okay, can I keep the coins that I find in your yard? Sure.
I didn't show any of the ones where I didn't get permissions. Like yesterday, I actually asked for one. Even though the ground's frozen, I still try to get a little bit of a bank of permissions in my pocket just so when it thaws, I can go out and actually start into it right away. And I got denied yesterday. And it would have been a really good one because it's somebody that I've known for a while. And through a discussion, he just didn't want anybody bothering his property. And the best thing I can find to do is once somebody says no to you, just be gracious and thankful for their time. And just, I usually leave a card behind or something that has my number on it, just in case they change their mind down the road. And that's kind of how I got into it, was just my first coin that I found led me to all of a sudden get hooked in trying to find old silver coins. It's a rush.
That's so cool. So you started off with prospecting.
I did. That's where my name comes from on my YouTube channel and where it comes from. My Facebook used to be Rocky Mountain Prospector Ryan, and then the Facebook police came around and made me change my name to my real name. So My YouTube channel still is Rocky Mountain Prospector Ryan, and it's because that's where I started out, was prospecting and putting videos out for that, and then it just transformed into, now I metal detect a lot more than I prospect.
I also asked him, does he have a wish list find?
Yes, this year is going to be my year to find my Morgan dollar. That's been on the top of my list for the last 3 years, and last year I only found dimes and war nickels and wheats and pennies, and I actually found 18 V nickels last year. And so I'm finding good stuff, but I'm not finding the stuff that's on my bucket list. And the top of my bucket list is my Morgan silver dollar. That's what I want the worst.
What has been his favorite find?
Actually, my favorite coin find, I pulled it out before you started talking. It's a Standing Liberty quarter, 1917S, Type 1. That was my first quarter find ever. And to find a 1917S as your first quarter, I mean, that was like the very best coin I could have pulled out of the ground. I'd always wanted a Standing Liberty, but the 17, I mean, you can only top it with the 1916, which would be worth like $5,000. And so this one's still the topless version, where she didn't have her chainmail shirt on yet. So it's really rare, and it's a great coin find. So as far as coins go, the Standing Liberty was my best coin find. My best overall find, I would have to say, was one of my friends lost his grandfather's class ring in their backyard of the grandfather's house. It had been lost since he was probably 8 or 9 years old, and now he's 32. So it's been lost for a long time. The grandfather's health's kind of going downhill, and it's one thing that he always wanted to find, was to find his grandfather's old ring. He didn't have a detector, so he called me to ask me if I could come over. The house had been sold a couple of times since the grandparents had lived there, so we went up and got permission from the lady who owns the house to detect her backyard, and she only gave us 20 minutes. And she's like, if you can find it in 20 minutes, that's great. I don't want you digging a lot of holes. And so basically we went out to where he thought he'd lost the ring, and I got a couple of good targets in that little, like a 10-foot square, and we kept marking them with these leaves. We'd drop a leaf on top of the targets that were good, and then I found one target that was just rock solid, and it was right in the gold range, and I dug it up and found his grandfather's class ring that he lost so many years ago. So that probably was the most meaningful find I've ever had.
What has been his most memorable hunt?
Actually, probably my most memorable hunt was with one of my friends that lives in he lives in Mesquite, Nevada, and he invited me out on it's close to the old Pioneer Trail, the old Spanish Trail that goes through southern Utah, and there's some historic sites within 5-10 miles of this area. Well, he came across an area where he thought there could have possibly been a home at one point. And as we're hunting around, I mean, I came across an old lamp, like an oil lamp, the part that the wick comes out of, found that, and I found my first Civil War / Indian War button in this area. So at some point, somebody who lived there had gone back to war and brought their coat back from war with them to Utah and lost that button there. And so, as far as a memorable hunt, that was probably my most memorable, just because of the history that goes along with it. And it was an entire day-long hunt, and it was in an area where the sagebrush was literally above my head. And so you're kind of walking around these little washes and gullies and just trying to like detect up onto the little hills and down where the washes would have washed everything down. And I was finding fragments of like old pottery and old plates and things like that. So it was really cool just to think of the history that somebody lived there in the mid-1800s, only for a few years possibly, and we were finding their old, what they would have considered trash.
What would your dig tip be to everyone?
I would say the biggest dig tip that I would give to people is try to decide in the beginning, is this a hobby you want to stick with in the long run, or is this something you just want to just dip your feet in a little bit and test the water to see if you might like it? Because if you're wanting to do this as a hobby that you think you could do long term, spend a little bit more money on your detector in the beginning. Don't go for one of the $100 detectors that you can get at the hardware store, because I think it's going to lead to a lot of frustration in the beginning. Deeper with a better machine, it's going to separate iron out with a better machine. You're going to be less frustrated with a better machine. And I'm not saying you have to spend $1,000 on one, but spend $200-300 at least, or $400 if you can afford it. If you buy right in the beginning, you won't have to spend that much more money to upgrade. I look back and in 1 year I went through 4 machines because I bought one and I was finding good stuff, but I wasn't getting the depth I wanted, or there were some little characteristics that I thought I could get better, and so I sold that one and bought another one. And then I liked that one, but there were some drawbacks to that. So I went from the AT Gold to a Minelab Safari, sold both of those, and then bought the XP Deus with the 11-inch coil. Loved that. So I sold that and actually bought the CTX 3030, and that's where I'm at now.
Well, sometimes you gotta be crazy just to make it through the day. Doesn't matter to me, no. We're all crazy.
Heavy ice chipper.
Anyway.
And
Chip away.
an axe. So we'll see what happens.
First we'll dig it out.
Yeah. So that's the ice now. I can't dig it. Okay, so let's say I did have the energy and the patience to dig out an area 1.5 feet of snow to be able to get my coil close enough to the ground and swing. And I did get a signal. Oh, looks like our chicken laid another egg. So let's say I do have a signal here. I can see the blades of grass right here. I'm right at the ground, so it looks promising. Let's see what we can accomplish. Use the piranha and let's dig a plug.
Oh.
Okay, that's not really working out for me. Let's try a chipper.
Try that.
Let's go at it.
Chip away. Heart of stone. Rip away. Heart of stone.
Oh! Oh, you got, what was that? Wait, what is this?
The grass.
Okay, so we got, so what do we have here? That's pretty much ice. And, oh, you got an inch there, but yeah. Okay. How deep was the target?
7. Let's
7?
let's try the axe.
Let's try the axe. Oh, that's working better.
Chip away.
So you may want to start doing square plugs.
Square plugs.
There.
It moved? There we go. I guess we'll...
Well, sometimes you gotta be crazy.
Oh, yeah!
There we go.
Just to make
The axe. The way to go.
That's what, 2 inches deep?
Oh, and I hit some roofs, so
to me, no.
the ground is still
Crazy.
solid,
Anyway.
frozen, solid.
Still frozen.
I still have, I made it about 2 inches. Still have 5 more to go.
Make sure not to scratch the silver.
Yes, dear.
Well, I saw you
We're down, what, 3 inches now?
and you had your party face on. But it's so
You're gonna
Snap
break
the
it.
handle.
You're gonna snap it.
you ain't pulling
Oh,
anyone
oh. There's some huge roots.
away.
Oh wow, I guess that's pretty much, I think, as deep as we're gonna get it.
My tip is forget about digging when it's frozen like this. Just enjoy other people's videos on YouTube, pass through winter, and wait till spring.
Yeah, where's the chicken? Sweetheart, Shelly, whoa, whoa, whoa.
She does not like to be held.
Yeah,
You're getting her butt.
turn around.
Next we'll be featuring Trooper Bri.
Hi everybody, my name is Brian Bari. I live in Northeast Connecticut. My hobby is metal detecting, and some of you may know me as Trooper Bri.
How did Trooper Bri get his name?
I have a friend, about 14 years ago I met ice fishing, and one of the first things he says to me when I got out of the car was, "Hey, you look like a state cop. I'm going to call you Trooper Bri. Let's go meet some of my friends." And I don't know if you've heard the story of how we walked around on the ice meeting as friends, but he scared a lot of them. He's a very loud, vocal person. He kept telling everybody in the ice fishing shacks, "Hey, come beat my buddy Trooper Bri."
How did Trooper Bri get started?
Here he is to explain.
I haven't been in it very long. Memorial weekend of 2014. So about 19 months. So I've always been an outdoor guy. You know, I did the fishing for years and years before that, hiking even before that, and mountain biking before that. So I enjoy being outdoors. A friend of mine gets this metal detector from his fiance for Christmas of 2013, I think. And he shows it to me, and I'm thinking, cool, that's neat. And it kind of went out of my head. So it starts getting warm again come April. I started thinking about that metal detector. It's like, you know, I gotta start watching YouTube videos, and I see these guys out in the woods relic hunting. It's like, that's for me. So by Memorial weekend, I had to have one. I was jumping out of my chair, wanting to try it, and I jumped in.
Have you ever wondered how he met the Stealth Diggers? Well, here he is to explain.
Well, not long after that, I had started watching. You know, I've got the detector now, and I'm still watching the videos because you can't watch enough videos when you're getting into the hobby. And Stealth Diggers was one of the first ones to come along, and it was the episode where Just Bob, I think, joins the crew, and he's in the back seat of Thunder Chief's truck with a bag over his head. You know, they're harassing him verbally. I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. This is the kind of stuff we do on the ice and fishing and whatnot. So I start commenting on his videos, and a little over a year ago, early January, I finally put up one of the posts, and we've been going back and forth, and I had sent him some of the, the trucker bombs. And he finally goes, "Dude, you got to jump into the Facebook group. I'll make you, one of the moderators. You got to be part of the crew." And that was it. January 17th last year is when I became officially a Stealth Digger.
You also have your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
What's the name of your YouTube channel, and can you tell me a little about it?
It's Trooper Bri, and I basically started it December of 2014. Kind of like Kurt did. I just grabbed my phone one day. I said, you know what, I'm going out to this field I just got permission on. I'm going to take my phone, I'm going to try my hand at videos. And the field I was at wound up popping up a bunch of buttons. And I said, heck with it, I'm going to start making some videos.
So now I was going through Trooper Bri's Facebook photos when I came across these two pictures. One is this doll. The second is him wearing a fur coat. I just had to ask what was up with these photos.
Yeah, that's Gordon Madison, who's been on Stealth Diggers for a while. He's very creative with photo editing software, and he's done a ton of pictures, either all of us, of Stealth Diggers itself, and then he started putting the action figures together, which was hilarious. And I think he used a picture of mine wearing Keebler's fur coat.
I saw that picture too. I wanted to ask you about that. What was up with those fur coats? What's that all about?
Well, if you're in Stealth Diggers, you're going to do crazy stuff. So for the big one last June, we were out in one of our areas, and we wanted to do, the whole video is full of the Sam Squinch things, where we hear Sam Squinch, where you can see a figure in the background in fur. So Keebler dragged these women's fur coats out of the attic. You can see the thing comes halfway on my arm when I wear it. It looks ridiculous. I look like Elton John or something. But in some of the scenes, you can see us, walking around in the background, and there was even a not so kindly scene of us doing other things in the background too.
Anything, Bri?
I don't think so. I think it's a deep piece of iron, one of those mineralized rocks that you guys are getting stones off of.
Man,
I thought I heard something.
Sam Squanch.
Kurt, I think you're right. There's something out here, dude.
Telling you, man, it just don't feel right.
Look at the back. Could you imagine if we actually did run into the beast? Run, you fool!
What do you guys call that thing again? The sus...
Sam Squanch.
Okay, the Sam Squinch?
Sam Squanch, all A's.
Sam Squanch.
Okay, can I ask what's up with that word? Where did that word come from?
That's one you should have had for Charlie. Charlie's always called it a Sam Squanch instead of a Sasquatch, and I'm sure it's just a play on words like interesting and, this is heavy for its weight, and just one of Charlieisms.
What is his favorite find?
Tell me, do you have a favorite find?
I do, and it just happened. My last favorite find, which was the last hunt of 2015, was that beautiful Federal infantry officer's button that I dug. Beautiful silver gilt on it. I think 1820s to 1840s was the date. Just past Saturday, I found a cellar hole, and the one and only coin that's come out of it so far is a 1785 Nova Constellatio. It's the second cleanest copper I've ever dug, and it's a rare Crosby 4C variety, that's going to be tough to top for a while. I'm shocked.
Most memorable moment.
Well, you know it. Buckets.
The buckets, yeah.
This episode was, honest to God, Henry Keebler was creeped out by that. He would not dig that up. He saw it. He didn't want to touch it.
Try your barrel.
Does he stink?
Somebody really didn't want this to...
Wow.
Go ahead. Take a guess.
Take a guess?
Take a guess.
Aside from an animal,
It's not dead.
it's not
It's
dead.
not alive, but it's not dead.
It's alive but not dead.
How about some breath savers?
What?
Are you kidding me?
Somebody's buried their survival kit out here.
That's going to be my most memorable hunt for a while, wondering what was in those 2 5-gallon pails. Thankfully, as soon as I lifted the first one out, I could tell right away it wasn't 8 heads in a duffel bag.
Today we're at the location where we had made our first ring return. We're at the old farmstead. Trooper Bri had contacted me after our interview and letting me know that his memorable hunt has changed. Trooper Bri's most memorable moment has to be this ring return. Here he is to explain.
Well, you asked me what my most memorable moment was, And to be honest, up until that point, it really was the buckets episode, wondering what was buried under there. But the day after I talked to you, I got out with my detecting partner, Danny, and we had Todd Hiltz and Dave Weisel on to hit up some cellar holes that had produced very well for me and Dan. And on an early cabin site, got this low 40s tone. I figured it was trash. It was a bit of a trashy cellar hole site. Up comes this beautiful gold class ring. Almost smack dab. It was a spot we couldn't get to back in the summer when we still had a lot of ferns in the foliage. So this was a site we were waiting for everything to come down on. And that's why we took Dave and Todd along, since it had so much potential. We wanted a bunch of coils there to clean up. The class ring is 1971, and it's from a high school right in the town we were detecting in. And it had his initials on the inside. It's a beautiful gold ring. It's 10 carat. I weighed it in. It's 12.1 grams. So it was a pretty fat ring. I wound up contacting the high school, told them what I had, gave them the initials, said it's 1971. I figure you guys have to still have some of the yearbooks from back then. And even in this day and age of suspicions with schools and safety and whatnot, they were all for it. The receptionist took my info, she took down the initials and got back to me this past Tuesday. And she got a day to go look through the books. And the gentleman, after almost 45 years, this ring has been in the ground, I found out. He still lived in the area. He was still alive, amazingly. And come to find out, he lives 10 minutes from me. Actually, the high school took it upon themselves. She was so interested in what I was doing that she actually Googled the guy's name and said, all right, this is it. I got the name. The guy's name is Thomas Clark. She wound up giving him my contact info, being safe like she is. And I don't blame her for not giving me his contact info directly. That's good. He called me this past Wednesday and called me a lot. Even though I was busy, I couldn't get to the phone. He was calling me a lot. And the story turns out even better than I hoped, because he's only about 62 or 63, but he's got a lot of health problems. He's in a retirement home. He doesn't have a car. He doesn't have very much family left. And to give him back this ring today was amazing. It was a very bright piece of light in his life. He was very, very happy to see that again.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's start the party.
So today I have Josh Kimmel and Leighton Harrington from Beyond Sight and Sound. So tell me a little more on what's happening. I understand that we have Josh from Beyond Sight and Sound, and Leighton, you also have a radio show called Under the Radar. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And, Josh and I decided to merge Under the Radar Radio and Beyond Sight and Sound, hoping to gather more listeners and, viewers too, because we're going to start doing a little bit of video clipping and hoping that, with more promos during the week or weekend, we're really hoping that this takes off really big.
Okay, this Wednesday, which through the powers of the internet for everyone watching would actually be tomorrow night in the time continuum, we've actually got open lines for the listeners of Beyond Sight and Sound, where they can call in and share their thoughts on any of the topics we're talking about, maybe provide feedback, and the most important thing right now is that the contest winner for the 2015 find on the Beyond Sight and Sound Facebook group will be announced. That winner will be revealed, and we'll be taking entries for the detecting/fishing giveaway coming up in July off of the coast of Cape Cod. That's sponsored by Fanatic Charters, Beyond Sight and Sound, myself, and Leighton Harrington. So it should be a good time. Tune in.
So that wraps it up for this week's episode of Relic News. I look forward to seeing you all next week.